Oh, hello. Welcome to Gourmet, the channel where I cook my way through all the cookbooks I've owned and have never used. Today, this is going to be a special video. So we've actually made it all the way through, start here. And we're celebrating with a homemade cake. We're going to make the buttercream from scratch. We'll make sprinkles from scratch. We'll make the cake from scratch. These are all recipes from start here. We're going to start today with sprinkles. It's basically powdered sugar, cream of tartar, egg whites, and food coloring. So it's kind of like a royal icing that we're just gonna let harden into shapes. So I'm gonna show you guys kind of what it looks like, but honestly this is gonna be a short segment because we have to hand pipe all these sprinkles and that's gonna take forever. I also haven't decided what colors I want, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit of this process just so that we can get the video rolling. But yeah, let's get into these sprinkles. And I don't know, this one's an exciting one. We've made it through our first cook, so let's get this going. I've got my egg whites here. I went ahead and separated the yolks off camera. You guys have seen me do that before, and you probably know how to do it yourself, so there's no need to watch me do that. Now we need 454 grams of powdered sugar, which is about 3 3/4 cups. This is going to be a lot of powdered sugar. We just are going to start measuring and pouring in there, so let's get this going. I have to say, this is a wild day to be doing this because it's a Thursday night and I have ribs in the oven, and oh shoot, I wasn't paying attention. I was so focused on how good the ribs smell. Oh boy. Okay. Screw it. We're gonna use this bowl. Okay. We are just gonna, let's start this over. Okay, zero that out. Zero that out. Dump all of this in. It's 234. We need like 220 more grams to go. Okay, and that is 454 grams. Perfect. I know this is a weird way to measure it, but you know, I messed up. Let's get this in there. Good thing I can do, you know, dishes in the dishwasher later. And that really means nothing to me that I messed up. We're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Sure. That looks great. And then from the depths of the corner of the counter, we're gonna grab the salt. And somewhere we can open it. And the recipe calls for a pinch of salt. And I'm gonna say that was a pinch. These really don't have to taste like anything. Let's be honest. You won't know, like, you'll notice them for decoration. You're not gonna notice them for taste at all. So I'm gonna go ahead. I guess it would help to plug in my mixer. Jeez, I'm not ready for this. That was really throwing me between the ribs and the Thursday night. Oof. Okay. And I'm gonna kind of go out slow first, just to get the powdered sugar and egg mixture together. And then we'll add in water. What our frosting looks like, you can see it's pretty thick. It holds its own. That's great. That's perfect for what we want piping. The colors that I use are these Wilton like gel colors. They're Color Brights. They're kind of old, but oh well. We'll do 3 or 4. Haven't really decided yet, but this is what it's going to look like. We're going to add that into a piping bag and just pipe it on parchment paper and let it sit overnight so it gets nice and hard. Here you can see our homemade sprinkles. I did start taking them off the parchment paper and then realized I should probably show you what they look like. But they're all hand piped, as you can tell, because they're done terribly. Hey guys, so we are on day 2 of this. Last night I made the sprinkles. Today we're back. We're gonna start the base yellow cake. Can you see that? Not really. Basically, we need to measure out our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. We're gonna start measuring out buttermilk. We need 570 grams of buttermilk, which I'm gonna measure into this bowl. um, so yeah, we'll see how much that is. Okay, that's about 500 grams. Oh, that's too much. Oh no. I'll get a cup and just take some out. And then in our buttermilk, we're just going to add a splash of vanilla. It's a tablespoon, so you know that we're not going to measure. We're going to measure with our hearts. Sure, that looks good enough. And then basically this gets sat to the side until we're ready to use it in the stand mixer. So next we need 540 grams of bleached cake flour. Just use whatever kind of flour. That's what we're doing. I've got all purpose, I've got a bleached, I think I have cake flour. I just went through my cabinet and took out all the flour I had. So we'll start measuring that out. I think I'm just going to measure out into the cup. I think I'm going to measure out as much as I can into a bowl and see how much it goes in that bowl, and then go from there. Because we are supposed to sift it, and the recipe says to sift on like a piece of parchment or something. I'm sifting into a bowl, which probably may defeat the purpose a little bit. But I need something easier to dump in. So that's what we're going to do. We are back with a slightly different camera angle. I'm never going to get this right. But we have 225 grams of butter, which turned out to be 2 sticks of butter that have been sitting at room temperature in our mixer. We have 3 eggs and 9 egg yolks that we've had sitting at room temperature. We have our buttermilk and vanilla that I poured out earlier, getting to room temperature. Here is all of our flour that we've sifted. So now we're going to go ahead and get everything that we need in here for getting ready to cream. So that is going to be 600 grams of sugar. So let's, the drill, turn on the scale and zero it out. It's like science class all over again. Here's our sugar. And we need 600 grams. So that's quite a bit. I'm guessing 3 cups. So that was probably close to 3 cups of sugar. And we've got 2 sticks of butter, 3 cups of sugar. Let's read the recipe and see what else we need. Butter, sugar, baking powder, salt, baking soda. Okay, perfect. So we have baking soda, and we need 3/4 of a teaspoon. So we're just gonna. No, it's probably a little too much, but whatever. Baking powder, we need 4.5 teaspoons. Now I know we're supposed to be measuring all of this. I'm not doing it. My teaspoons are dirty. And so, yeah. So maybe they won't rise as much as they're supposed to or whatever. But look, I'm not here to be a professional. I'm here to just do it at my house for my friends, or in this case for myself, because I don't know who to give this to. Yeah. So we're going to call that 4.5 teaspoons. It probably didn't look like it on camera, but quite a bit came out. We are going to go ahead and get a pinch of salt. It's 2 teaspoons. Okay. And then we need coconut oil. So this is the coconut oil I got just from Publix. But we need 75 grams of this. So we're going to once again, on our handy dandy scale, zero that out. Now's the time that I realize I need a spoon. There we go. And we just need 75 grams of this. I don't really know how much that is. However much that was 75 grams. So, okay, that's what we're going to do. And we'll plop that in here. There we go. We lost some along the way, so perfect. Well, we're so scientific on this channel. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I am going to plug this in. I'm going to double check that we just have our sugar, butter, coconut oil, baking powder, salt, and baking soda. And so for 6 to 8 minutes, we're going to go ahead and cream this until it's light and fluffy. It's been 7 minutes of creaming all of our butter and sugar and everything. This cake recipe is just a base like vanilla butter cake, but we're going to kind of make it a little bit different. And we're going to do a Funfetti version of it, which is in the book. So along with our real vanilla, we're just going to add some imitation vanilla and a little bit of almond extract in here. And that is what hopefully is going to give it the Funfetti taste. We'll see. So I'm going to, before I forget to add these things, I'm going to add in my tablespoon of vanilla extract. Okay. Oh, that was it. That worked out perfectly because that one's finished. And then I did go ahead and I bought some almond extract. And we need just a half teaspoon of this, so not a lot. I guess I should have done this beforehand. I do so good at this on some videos, and other videos it's like I've never done anything before, and I'm like, what is prep? Okay. Get that out, and I'm going to wipe that off real quick. I'm going to wipe down the bowl, and then we're going to add our eggs one at a time, which means we're going to try to do one at a time because that's kind of how you're supposed to use them so that everything gets mixed in and you can ensure that the eggs are all mixed in. If more than one egg pops out, more than one egg pops out. So that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a big wipe down. Close enough. Okay. Let's get this going back. We're going to low speed and just a little at a time. And there's our eggs. I'm just going to get this a little higher just to make sure everything's whipped. Okay. Now, the recipe did say mix 10 to 15 seconds in between each egg. I didn't count. I probably did it faster than that, but that's okay. Like I said, I've never noticed a difference, but I will stop and I will go ahead and scrape down the edges here because once again, I want to try and incorporate everything as much as possible. More. Okay, I'm going to give this another mix just to get that sugar and some of the egg mixed in. Now, little by little, we're going to add our wet ingredients, which is the buttermilk, the vanilla extract. Well, I guess they're both vanilla extracts, but one's homemade, one's store-bought, and the almond extract, and then all of our sifted flour. And we're just going to add these a little bit at a time. I think it's a third of each at a time. Yeah, so it's about a third at a time. I'm just going to take my spatula. I'm going to take my spatula and just scoop it in. I don't really have a better way of doing this. It did say to sift this on parchment paper, which I think I said earlier, but I really didn't want parchment paper just laying around on the counter. And I was like, if there's any sort of wind or anything like that that comes by, if the air turns on, then there goes all the flour. So we're just doing it this way from a bowl. And it didn't matter anyway. We're making a mess. So just scoop some of that in. Oh, boy. Okay, and then we're just going to dribble some of our buttermilk and vanilla in. Okay. Get all that mixed in. I mean, I gotta say, this looks like a really nice cake batter. So I'll give it to Sohla for that for sure. So you guys can see, this is what our batter looks like right now. It smells delicious. It's a really nice consistency. To make it more funfetti, obviously, or to make it actually funfetti, I got a whole thing of sprinkles. I'm gonna dump these guys in, because that's what I want to do. I thought, yeah, I could make like a regular yellow cake, sure, but so can everybody. But how often do you get a homemade funfetti cake? I think that's pretty fun. Except I can't open the sprinkles. I'll be right back. Thank God, we finally got them open. Okay? And I'm just going to dump all of them in there. I guess I can recycle it. And then we're going to stir all of our sprinkles in by hand. And this is what I wanted to do as like the last step, because now I can I can easily make sure that everything's incorporated a lot better, and just ensure that we have everything where we want it to be, because this is a lot of batter, and you can see how much of this bowl it takes up. Now, of course, this is what the KitchenAid's made for, but that's still a lot of batter. Perfect. So I'm going to set that to the side real quick, because there is one thing I want to know. This is my cake pan. I don't remember how big it is, but I've got it sprayed with Pam, and I've got the parchment on the bottom. The recipe says to fill each cake pan. Sorry, I had to re-grab this because I put it away. The recipe says to fill each cake pan with about 760 grams of the batter. So I want to know, I'm just curious what that looks like. So we've got our kitchen scale. Go ahead and set that on it. Zero out. It's going to be a little hard to read, but that's okay. I would say pretty much to where you're normally going to fill a cake is how much it is. I'm going to do that with the second one. I'm not going to use the scale because I don't feel like using it. That was more of an experiment. But let's go ahead, fill this one up. Okay, I've got my 2 cakes. I will put these in the oven for at 350 for about an hour. I'm just going to stick this in the fridge, and then when one of these comes out, I'll stick it in. Just because I don't have another cake pan this size that I found. I might have one now. So I'm going to look for that, and I'll see you guys when these are done baking. Okay, so we just took our cakes out of the oven. I'll show you a close-up. You can see they're a little burnt around the edges. They look less burnt on the camera, but you can see they're kind of like a much deeper brown than they should be. They should be closer to this color, not that color. I baked them on the same shelf, and I probably shouldn't have. But I took them out at 45 minutes. I think I'll take them out at 40. I'll take the next one out at 40. I think that's going to be better. But it is what it is. I don't know if my oven maybe really... I don't know. I haven't had this problem yet. But I also haven't made a cake in this oven before. So I really don't know what... There's so many things that could have gone wrong that could have been me, could have been the time, could have been, you know, a multitude of things. But yeah, I've lowered the oven temperature a little bit, and I'm going to cook the next one for about 40 minutes instead of 50. So we'll see how that goes, but these are going to cool, and when they're cool, we'll pop them out, and then I'm just going to reuse one of these pans to make the next one. And then we're going to wrap them and put them in the fridge overnight. Okay, I just got out of the shower for the night, but before I put on my pajamas, I wanted to prove to everybody that I can bake a cake. So I'm going to bring this up to you. This is what the other two should have looked like. What I did was I put my oven down to 340, and instead of 40 minutes, I baked it for about 38 minutes. Because that's going to make that almost just underbakes the cake so that it stays moist. You know how a lot of cakes, you buy them and they look really good. Like they're perfectly brown, all that stuff, but they're dry. Well, stop that. This is going to be a really good layer of cake. Welcome back to part 3, I guess, of this cake. Today, we're going to be finishing it, and we're going to be making a basic Swiss meringue buttercream. Full disclosure, Swiss meringue buttercream is the buttercream I always have used for my cake. I went ahead and pre-measured most of our ingredients. We're going to put our egg whites in here and our sugar, and then go from there. So this kind of starts like, it's a meringue, right? So you guys saw how we made the meringue in the s'mores ice cream pie. This is going to be a similar thing, just a little bit more of it. We've got our egg whites from the other day. We're going to go ahead and get those in there. And then the only thing I really have to measure right now is 360 grams of sugar. So we'll do that right now together. That's 360 grams of sugar. And we're just going to go ahead and plop that into our egg whites. We're going to turn our scale off and set these guys to the side. I'm going to take the whisk attachment and whisk these guys together. The recipe book does say to do it with the mixer and mix until no streaks remain, but there's no difference between doing it by hand and doing it with the mixer. And so I'm just going to do this real quick. No, I don't have any streaks remaining. You can maybe see close up that we still have a bunch of sugar on here. That's not dissolved. That's what we're going to do with this. So I'm going to go ahead, turn on our burner. I'm going to grab a spatula and we'll stir this. Honestly, the next time you guys see me, I'm going to have it in the bowl. I'm not going to make you watch this, but we already know how to make a meringue. We've seen it in one video. If you haven't seen the s'mores pie, go watch it. But we're doing the same thing up until the butter gets added to make it a buttercream. So I will see you guys when we are probably ready to add the butter, I guess. Okay, so we're trying something with this angle, mostly to see if we can get, if I can have it come across what's going to happen. Basically, we're adding 6 sticks of butter to this. And we're adding it kind of like a couple tablespoons at a time. And our meringue is perfect. It is at like a stiff peak consistency. It's where we want it. If this is where you want your meringue, this is where you would stop. But we are going to actually throw in butter, and it's going to deflate, and it's going to look like it broke, and like it looks really gross. So this is like a trust the process section. But I really wanted you guys to see it because I think it's important. So here's what it looks like. You can tell it's deflated a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add more butter and just slowly keep incorporating the butter. And when it breaks, I'll show you what it looks like. And then when it comes together, I'll show you what it looks like. So here is a little bit. You can kind of see it's kind of breaking a little bit. We've added probably 2 1/4 sticks of butter. We still have a lot more to go. Doing another buttercream check-in. You can see it's slowly getting more yellow because of the butter, and it's slowly getting a little chunkier. This is what we're talking about when we're saying it's breaking. But don't worry, it does come back together, I promise. It just takes a little while. This one's a definitely trust the process kind of buttercream. Here we go. This is kind of the worst it's going to get, and then it should come back together slowly the more it gets mixed. But yeah, this is what the buttercream looks like. This is what we say when it's breaking. And you can see it's even kind of starting to come back together here and get a little fluffy. But we've got just about a stick, maybe a stick and a half to go. So I'll show you what that's done when that's done. So you can see it's a totally different consistency now than it was. It's definitely not the meringue. We put the paddle attachment in just to smooth it out, but this is what it looks like. If I get it in the light a little bit, you can see it's nice and white. It's a little off-white, but that's just because of the butter. But this is going to be a really nice buttercream. It's not overly sweet. It really lets the flavors of like the cake shine. So I'm gonna go ahead, prep our cake for frosting, and I will see you guys when we're ready to frost. Hello. So we're gonna go ahead and start frosting the cake. I thought this would be helpful, just so you guys can see it. This is one of the layers that I kind of overbaked, so I did add like a simple syrup to the top just to kind of bring some moisture back into it. But really, all I'm doing is plopping on frosting because these are the middle layers. Yeah, we're gonna plop on the frosting, and I'm just gonna smooth it out and get it even. Now I did cut the cake a little bit, as you guys saw. And I'll show it better in the next one. I didn't really show it that well, but we just want to frost this so that the middle has frosting everywhere. Okay, so I definitely forgot to show you me cutting this cake. My bad. But I just flipped the last layer on top so that we have a nice flat surface. You can see here, like this is going to be a little difficult to ice, and we don't have not everything's perfectly aligned. That's on me. I should have, I could definitely cut around the edges. I'm just not going to, honestly. But I'll show you guys how I frost the cake and go from there. So kind of how I like to start my frosting is a big lump on the top, and then just like slowly bring it down to the side. Sometimes that happens and you just, look, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but we get it as close as we can. And, I've said it before in this video, I'll say it again. I'm out of practice, so this is going to take a little while, and I don't normally film myself doing it, so I'm doing it at kind of a different angle. And you can say these are all excuses, and I'm going to say, yeah, they are. But why wouldn't I take them? So let me just get this going. That's kind of how I do it. I don't have the best angles or anything for this. And you can see it's not the best job, but as we go farther and farther, this is going to get easier and easier to frost. Okay, so I'm sort of not. But you can see this is what our cake looks like now. That probably took about 15 minutes to get here. And what is nice about this, I could go on and on and on and on about getting this perfect, but at some point you just kind of have to stop. And you'll see on Instagram people use like molds and stuff. I just do it freehand with my offset spatula. So it takes me a little while, but I don't mind. And I know it's not perfect, but that's okay. I think that's kind of the charm of a homemade cake. They're not supposed to be exactly perfect. But we are going to go ahead and sprinkle on our homemade sprinkles that I've had just kind of sitting and drying off camera for the last gosh knows how long. But this is what they look like. So, I just dropped one. I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I guess I'm just going to sprinkle them on like sprinkles. I don't know. They're kind of big. So, you don't want too many. I don't know. You want it to look like artistic. How's that? I guess that's good. So we've got all of our sprinkles. Let me pull it back in the frame. We've got all of our sprinkles on our cake. I think it looks cute. I think the sides could be better, but I don't really know what to do about that. I've got all of the rest of our frosting in a piping bag. What I'm going to do is I have a Wilton number 5 tip on the end, it's a number 12. And I'm just going to pipe some dots along the edge. And we'll see how many we get. Okay. Looky there. That's not too shabby. Is it perfect? Not at all. But that's okay. I am going to just put some finishing touches on it, and then I will see you guys in a second. Okay, so this is it. We lit some candles. We've got our cake. But this is the end of Start Here by Sohla El-Waylly. We have made it through this entire cookbook. So we're just going to celebrate, blow out some balloons on this little birthday cake, and then we'll try it. Okay, guys, here is our piece of funfetti cake. I'm excited to try. Everything looks pretty good. I'm just gonna go. That's a good cake. It tastes like funfetti. You can see it's real nice. You know, I did add the simple syrup to it on the 2 layers that I overbaked, and I think that really helped. It's not too dry. Now my cake layers definitely need to thaw a little bit more from the fridge, just because my fridge is, you know, it's cold, so they're a little too cold, and you can see like they're definitely, you can kind of see. Let me get you closer. That they separate pretty easily from the frosting. That's just because everything in there is cold. But I like this. I don't know. I would make it again. Is it as good as a box cake? Yeah, they're kind of the same. I think I like this one a little better. Is it funfetti cake? No. Now that is the thing. I've never found a true dupe for a Pillsbury funfetti cake. This is really good cake, but it's not funfetti cake. So don't think that you're going to get like the exact same flavor as that. But I like it. I guess we can pull it back into view. I mean, look at those layers. Doesn't that look pretty? I think this would be really nice to give as like a birthday cake or something. Will I ever pipe my own sprinkles again? No. I hated that. It took me probably 30 minutes to pipe all of them. I didn't even use all of them. But I liked this recipe. I think making everything from scratch, it took about as long as I expected it to. I did do this over the course of 3 separate days, but I don't know. I'm just kind of happy we made it here. So I'm going to give this recipe I think I'll give it a 9, honestly. It really wasn't that much more difficult than any other homemade cakes that I've made. The sprinkles weren't hard, they're just time consuming, and that's something that you definitely don't have to do. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're trying to go all out.